and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then don't forget to subscribe down below, and without much further ado, let's get on with the video. Hello everyone, I am here today to discuss Spider-Man Far From Home. This film is everything. I enjoyed it so much, it's insane. Now, I've seen it twice. I actually just got back from my second viewing. I saw it in super screen this time, 2D the previous time. Super screen just makes me so happy because you hear things so much better, and I just, as someone that's super into like sound design, it's just a really pleasing film for my ears in certain aspects. One particular moment is when Aunt May and Peter high five. Peter's wearing his iron Spidey suit. They high five and it makes like a metal tang noise, and it's the little things. Also, the sound of Peter's toothbrush makes a very specific noise, and it's really satisfying to me, and I don't know why. Anyway, that's enough about sound, because I'm sure most of you don't really care about sound. Did I like the film? Yes or no? Well, we already know that I did enjoy the film, otherwise I probably wouldn't be making this video. But to what degree did I enjoy it? It's such a good film on so many levels, and it showcases so much of who Peter Parker is, and his character, and the acting in this one just gives me life. Now, before I carry on, actually, because I just realised everything that I'm about to say is a major spoiler, don't watch this video if you haven't seen it yet. This is like Fight Club level of spoilers, okay? If you know the spoilers that I'm about to tell you, the whole film, it won't be ruined, you'll just won't be able to see it the same. If you have seen it, let's carry on. Jake's character of Mysterio, Quentin Blake, I really didn't think I was gonna like his character as much as I did, but it's just perfect. Like, the way he performs, like, obviously at the beginning you have him being very like sad about like losing his planet and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, you feel so sorry for him. And even though we all know Mysterio is a bad guy in the comics, we still, I don't think we're expecting it to go down how it did, so it was still really shocking the way they chose to showcase the villainous side of his character. And the bit where he's giving the whole speech about believing anything at the moment, that is god tier comedy, okay? Because not only was he talking about everyone in the MCU world, but also he was talking about us, and we honestly did believe the multiverse was going to be a thing for quite some time. But that was a really good way of like incorporating that and making us kind of look through the eyes of Peter Parker and the other characters and trust Mysterio to then be like slapped in the face by Mysterio, and that was something that I really enjoyed. And also, all the surprises actually surprised me, and as someone who studies film, when you watch films, you end up reading them in a way, and it's not just a matter of like you escape into the film. Like, I can do it with most films, I can just escape and ignore things, but when I know that there's gonna be a plot twist, I can usually predict when it's gonna happen, and 99% of the time what exactly the plot twist is gonna be. Like, I can see how it's gonna unfold, which kind of gets annoying. So when you get a film like this, which I knew things were going to surprise me, but I had no idea what exactly was going to happen, that made me happy. And the Peter Tingle moment right at the end, that whole scene was beautiful, but when he catches the gun and like, genuinely, for a second I was like, what happened? Did he just get shot? What is happening? This is amazing. And then obviously it was found out that Mysterio was manipulating the situation again, and also it made me appreciate Peter Parker and Spider-Man a lot more. He wasn't necessarily one of my favourite superheroes, but now he's definitely up there. Okay, so we're gonna go over to Instagram now, so this video isn't hours and hours and hours long. So the first one I have got is, do you think this is a good follow-up film to Avengers Endgame? Now, this was actually the biggest thing that I was worried about, was how were they going to make a film that kind of was the same level, if not higher, of the hype of Endgame and the idea of a villain being as hard to defeat as Thanos, if that makes sense. Like, Thanos is the big bad, so surely once they've defeated Thanos, they can defeat anyone, you know? And obviously, I know Spider-Man is one of the many Avengers that took down Thanos, but you get what I mean. It's like the idea of who can be the next villain, you know? They have to live up to Thanos's status. Yeah. Not only did they make a really good standalone Spider-Man film, standalone Marvel film, standalone superhero film that was just about Peter and, you know, his kind of finding his way and finding who he is and finding his voice kind of thing, which was really good. Mixing that with the idea that, yeah, he is a 16-year-old kid and he still needs to kind of live his life in a way, and him trying to balance those two things out. That was amazing. And then on the other hand, you have the entire MCU that you have to think about, and how it perfectly slots in and addresses things that were brought up in Endgame and have resulted because of Endgame, but in a genius way. And it just works so perfectly, because I feel like, well, yes, you kind of need to have watched other Marvel films to watch Far From Home to understand it all. Far From Home, I think, is a film that can be watched alone and still make enough sense that you understand what's going on, if you get what I mean. They showed his super strength a lot, showed his durability, because he got hit by a train and survived, you know, and they showed how good his sixth sense is, which I think is overshadowed in a lot of the films. And in Infinity War, when he starts to fade, he knows that he's fading because of his Peter tingle. But my favourite thing that they highlighted in this film is the fact that Peter Parker is one of the smartest people in the MCU. Like, he is up there. Like, it's something that I think this version of Spider-Man has kind of been leaving out. Like, obviously we know he's smart, we know he loves his science, we love his like witty t-shirt. Like the one he wears for most of this film says, "If you believe in telekinesis, raise my hand." Just imagine putting him, Shuri and Rocket and Nebula into one room and just being like, there, go. And the things they create would be amazing. But I say this because, of course, we have that scene where he's making his suit and he just knows what to do instantly, and that just shows that he is super smart. And it's something that I think helps his character a lot. People will be like, well, he can't become the new Iron Man, etc, etc, etc. But he does have the smart side of Tony Stark in that sense. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I just really appreciated the things that they highlighted on, and it was a very pretty film, and I think it was a perfect next step from Endgame, and I'm very excited for what the future holds for the MCU. Not that we have any specific schedule yet. Obviously we know that Winter Soldier and Falcon TV series is starting in October, filming, not coming out. But other than that, we have no release dates for anything, like at all. What did you think of the Peter tingle moment during the final fight? As I said, I adored that moment. The way they were kind of able to mix the illusion with the actual London Bridge, like, structure, I think it was a perfect location for them to choose, because it had that structure that they could work around. But then obviously you have all of the thing. It's so pretty, okay? I really like it. And then when he stops the gun, it's just perfect. It really is perfect. Someone asked, do you think Spider-Man is Tony Stark's long-lost son? I do not believe that theory at all. And actually, on that theory, if you remember in Iron Man 2, there is a moment where Iron Man is like having his fight, and he stops in front of a kid who's wearing an Iron Man mask and goes, "Nice work, kid." I think that's what he says. "Nice work, nice job, kid." And Tom Holland actually asked, I think it was Kevin Feige or one of the big heads at Marvel, if that was his Peter Parker. And apparently, according to Tom Holland in one interview, he said that that little kid is him, but young. Did that make sense? Did you feel that it was too mushy with all the teen romance? Now, if you know me, you know how much I hate romance films, in a sense of they don't do anything for me, you know? I'm here for the superhero films, I'm here for the action films, I'm here for the murder films, by that I mean horrors, I don't know why I said murder films. I'm here for like those kind of films, they're my favourite, but romance films and like mushy things, not a huge fan of. It just kind of makes me uncomfortable and I just don't love it. But the way they did it in this film, I was 100% okay with, because they did it in a funny, comedic, awkward way instead of trying to be like, true love is everything. It was more of like a main plot, but also a side plot, if that makes sense. Like, it kept interchanging perfectly, and I don't think they put too much on the romance side of things. I think it was really well done, and I don't think it was too much, to be honest. And plus, like, MJ and Peter Parker, meant to be. I think it was just because it was so funny. Like, when there was a romantic moment, there was humour in that moment, and I really appreciate that, so I didn't think it was too mushy. Disappointed by the multiverse being fake. I am not actually disappointed by this, because I saw an interview with, I believe it was the director, and he said, even though in our film the multiverse was fake and it was Mysterio's plan, there's nothing that we do to say that the multiverse can't pop up later. And I think it would be a very interesting way to bring in the X-Men, would be through the multiverse, because right now the way it stands is obviously the X-Men don't necessarily exist in the MCU world. Otherwise, I feel like mutants would have been utilised in Endgame. But if another Earth comes along and they somehow get to our Earth and they're like, oh, we have these people called mutants on our planet, they're coming to help, I feel like that would work quite well together and would bring them in together. But the only thing I have to say about X-Men is I really want Anna Paquin to reprise her role as Rogue, because I love her and she's just and Rogue is one of my favourite superheroes, so please, Anna Paquin, come back. How do you feel the movie balanced comedy and also the dark, moving on without Tony? As I said, I think it was a very perfect way of kind of carrying on the story of the MCU now that the Infinity Saga is finished, and I think they balanced the comedy with the tragedy quite well. Because one minute you were laughing with Peter and then the next minute you were crying with him. It's a very good balance. I really like it when films can do that and it doesn't feel very forced, it just kind of happens quite naturally, and I think that's why it's one of my faves, because it's a thing that I really enjoy seeing in films because it's kind of hard to do, so yay. I'm getting a lot of like opinions on Mysterio, the plot twists, and like the illusion scenes, and I get very happy when visual effects are top notch to a degree that it's on a very simple thing that you think wouldn't need to be CGI'd, and then you find out that it's CGI and your brain goes, you know? So like, I don't know how much of this film was filmed on location, but a lot of the London Bridge stuff obviously wouldn't have been able to be filmed on London Bridge. For example, there's one moment where Peter Parker shoots straight through the floor of the London Bridge, like glass floor, which I've been on, and it's terrifying, let me tell you, but that glass floor I think is 7 layers thick, and it can hold an incredible amount of weight, and there is no way that a person would be able to go through that glass. So obviously that bit would have needed to be filmed elsewhere, but yet you still believed that it was exactly there, which is both obviously set design but also the CGI of putting that area around that moment. I don't know if it was filmed there and then inserted the smash through the floor post, but then again, that's what I mean, like you can't tell where, like it just looks like he smashed through London Bridge floor, which you can't do. So I mean, you can do it if you have enough power, which also showed how strong Spider-Man is, which was really great, because I feel like we just forget these things because he's just so flawless. Yes, Spidey, yes. As for Mysterio and as for the plot twist, as I said, didn't see them coming, and that is all I could have asked for because I was surprised, and that's a tough thing to do with films, okay? It's a tough thing. So, yay for that. I enjoyed it. I especially liked the Skull Iron Man mix. I really want to draw that. I'm going to probably try at some point, but I really liked that whole thing. I think that was really good. What was your favourite thing about the movie? My favourite thing was Mysterio's acting like he was still not found out to Fury, if you know which bit I'm talking about. Like, Fury standing there asking him, like, what's happening? And then Mysterio's like, I need some lines, someone give me something to say, and then says it, but like, just says it out into the world, obviously not actually fighting over in the air. And it's just like a funny insight into how people do like voice recordings for like animations and ADR, audio dialogue replacement, that kind of thing for films, and I thought that was just funny, but that's more of a sound thing from me. Oh no, I know which my favourite moment is. It's when Mysterio is like shouting and being like, guys, I need this to work, I need this to work, and she's like, do you still want your cape? And he's like, yes, Janice. And it's just, now we come on to the thing that most people have been asking me about, and that is the post-credit scene. Now, of course, there are 2 post-credit scenes, one mid-credit, one end-credit. I wasn't prepared for either of them. Let's do this in a good order. First credit scene. Okay, so much happens in it, as we know. I loved it. I think it was one of the best parts of that film, not gonna lie. It made me laugh, it made me gasp, I wasn't ready. The big thing, thedailybugle.net. First of all, the fact that it's a website now, not a newspaper, keeping up the times, love that. It's just a small thing, you know. But the thing that made me gasp and laughed was the fact that J.K. Simmons reprised his role as J. Jonah Jameson. I think he is the perfect actor for that role. He has such a distinctive voice that it reminds me of someone shouting at Spider-Man, if that makes sense. Like, I just relate that to his voice. If you haven't watched Whiplash, such a good film, by the way, that's just a side note, but I just wasn't ready, and for a second I just kind of was like, oh yeah, that's normal, because he is that character, because I can't see any other actor in that role. I was just like, oh yeah, that's normal, and then my brain like clicked, and I was like, wait, I need to take a step back, because J.K. Simmons hasn't previously been in this universe. He was in the old Spider-Man films. Like, my brain literally exploded in the space of about 5 seconds, and I turned to CJ and I was like, wait, what? It was a thing. Like, I knew it was him. I knew who his character was, all that kind of thing, yeah. But my brain took a second to realise that they were different universes of film, because I just accept him in that role so hard that I just... And of course the big thing from the mid-credit scene was the fact that Peter Parker was outed as Spider-Man, and I don't think anyone was expecting that, but it kind of makes sense, and it's kind of makes it interesting for where the next few films are going to go, and I really enjoyed that, and I wasn't expecting it, so that was great. Also, I really liked the shot of Peter going and then his eyes on his suit expanding. Like, I thought that was just a really nice shot, anyway. But yeah, that's what I thought of that one. I'm just from it. And finally, we come on to the final credit scene, and we see my fave Talos back. Nothing could have prepared me for this scene, because no one knew that it was gonna happen. I feel like it raises numerous questions. For example, when did Fury hand over to Talos to be Fury on Earth? I like to think at Tony Stark's funeral, Carol and Fury spoke to each other, and then Fury was like, well, I'm not got anything to do here, can I come with you? And then Carol was like, yeah, sure, cool, the Skrulls need some help, like, you can come and like work with them, it's all good. And I feel like that's when it happened. It could have been earlier, who knows, but I don't think that it's been Talos for the whole duration of the MCU. I don't agree with that theory personally. I think it is like recently, but when you watch it for a second time, I will say that you can tell very distinctly that it's not Fury for numerous moments, specifically when Fury is having a go at Peter. Also, the way that Samuel L. Jackson says a couple of things sounds a lot like the way Talos would say it, which was really interesting. And there are little hints to the fact that it isn't actually Fury and Maria, specifically when they are coming up to the final battle. Fury is talking about Kree's having sleeper cells, and it's such a tiny moment that if you like blink and you miss it, but for your ears, what? Then you won't notice that it's being said, because it goes back into like the plot of the story, but it's like that tiny moment that was like a little yeah. So that was interesting. Also, Maria being Talos' wife was everything, because when you watch it back, you do see that Maria is being more mean than she has been in any of the previous films. Like, she's a badass lady that will not stand for anything, and I've never noticed her to be this much done with everyone in the room, so that was really nice seeing her act in that way. And then when you watch it back, you can be like, oh, okay, it makes sense now as to why she was acting the way she was, because it wasn't actually Maria. But then that raises the question, where is Maria? That's my thoughts on the end credit scenes. I wasn't expecting them, I loved them, I think they're probably my favourite end credit scenes of any of the Marvel films. I do have a couple of things that I'm questioning. The first one being, Peter says that he's going to stay with his family for a while when they're on the trip, so it gives him an excuse to disappear. Yet, when they come back to America, they are together. Now, did Peter just happen to get a flight that was at the same time as them? Did they meet each other again in London and then get a flight home together? Do the teachers and the other students not question this? I don't know, okay? That's the one thing I have there. And then there was another one, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. I just really liked the film. I think it was one of the best. I just really cannot wait to see where the MCU is going, and I'm very excited. And Disney now officially own X-Men, so that's going to be really interesting to see that come together. And man, I just love superhero movies, okay? I just love them. I've been talking for a very long time now, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I do want to say, please, if you have any opinions whatsoever on this film, whether they be good, bad, I don't mind, hit me up with your comments. I really want to read as much as I can. If you found anything on the internet that hints at certain theories, please leave links. Like, go all out, okay? I'm here to read your comments and learn more about Marvel, and I'll try and respond to as many as I can. If you have any thoughts about the multiverse or the future of the MCU or any of the TV series or anything like that, please comment down there. But that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it and you want to carry on watching this face, I do Disney videos. Every Wednesday will be a Disneyland Paris vlog for a couple of weeks now. I do review videos. If you are interested in any of that content, then please do not forget to subscribe just here. Also, my previous video will be just here, and here will be a link to a recommended video. But until next time, bye!